being here. Hopefully today has been amazing for you, as amazing as it's been for us. We're incredibly excited to be here to actually ship a lot of cool stuff for developers here. Hopefully you all are as excited. My name is Connor, so I'm the Senior Director of Product Design here at GitHub. I guess not here at GitHub, but at GitHub. And I've been working with the product teams and the engineers and the designers to really closely to think about these amazing features that we're all using at GitHub. We're testing at GitHub internally, and we're just really excited to see what you all do with them. So I just wanted to start off and talk about sort of how we approach features when it comes to the developer workflow. Really, when we approach our product, there's really three segments that we think of. We think of developers first. We say that a lot. Is that that's our bread and butter. We want to make features for you as a developer to make you more empowered to build amazing things, of course. So that's one way we look at it, and first and foremost, the way we look at it. We also look at GitHub from the standpoint of businesses and really administrators trying to manage all those developers. And then finally, we think about the integrator and the platform and how people are building into GitHub's platform to empower more specialized workflows on top of these features. So we're really going to be focused on that developer during this session over the next 40 minutes. And by the way, it is sweltering up here. I don't know if you all realize that. So if we start sweating, please do not hold it against us. But we're really going to focus on the workflow here. We're trying to empower developers to build awesome stuff. And one of the ways that we do that, and one of the ways we sort of decide about what we're going to build, is by hearing from the community. We've made a concerted effort over the last year, really, to listen to our community, to listen to our community of developers, to our community and our ecosystem building into our platform, and our community of businesses using GitHub, whether it be on GitHub Enterprise or on .com. And we've been trying to listen and learn from all of their experiences and bring the high impact workflow features to .com, to Enterprise, and really empowering all these people based on their feedback. And so we're really excited to hear what you all have to think. And we're going to have sort of office hours for the speakers, I believe tomorrow. I'm sure that's on a schedule someplace, so double check me. But we're going to be meeting with you all. We want to hear your feedback. We want to know how we can improve these features. And just know that while we've always built GitHub in a way that sort of serves us internally, and our developers are using these features to build these features, and we'll get into that a little bit more, we also want to hear how we can better serve you as a developer. And that's the intent around all this. We're here to build amazing stuff. And so when we think about workflow improvements, we've really come at it from two ways. And the things that we're going to focus on during this session is really around project management and how we've made that undifferentiated heavy lifting of the feature sort of built right into GitHub so that developers of all kinds, whether they're like me and my wife just using a repo to organize our housework, real story, that's true. Boards are great for that. And so no matter if we're serving individuals on open source projects or just side projects or businesses like GitHub building software for all of you, that's sort of how we approach it. And then code review is also something we want to cover. And this is really just coming out of a lot of the workflows that we were able to see develop, especially after we introduced the pull requests, and we've been taking some of those implicit workflows and making them explicit. So with that, I want to introduce Ayman, one of the engineers that worked on projects. She's going to take it from here to introduce you into this and take a deep dive.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing today? That's great. So as Connor said, we've been building something pretty exciting over the last little while, and our product is called Projects. Now, before I dive into some of the features under Projects, I wanted to talk a little bit about how at GitHub it is that we think about project management as a whole and more broadly. And one of the important things to note is that project management is about helping developers, or really anyone, find and easily organize the information they need in order to do work. That means when I get to GitHub, I want to know exactly what I need to do, when I need to do it, and what are all of the other things that I need to be aware of when I'm getting that done. And to be quite candid, this isn't particularly easy right now on our platform. It's not super easy to know how a set of issues map to a set of pull requests with so many different people contributing to one repository or multiple repository. It's kind of hard to know how disparate pieces of information and parts kind of connect into something more cohesive. And so one way that we've started to address that is through our launch of projects. Now, projects is kind of a way where you can pull in all of your stuff, whether it's issues or pull requests or something more ephemeral we're calling notes, in order for you to kind of track and prioritize what's going on between named columns. Now, these columns kind of give you categories that represent context for your work. This is really powerful, and one of the things that I wanted to mention is that the design philosophy we've had around this is not to be overly prescriptive in the way we build. We wanted to be mindful of the fact that everyone's different. There's a ton of heterogeneity between developers. We all have different workflows and styles of collaborating that suit our individual needs. So when we thought about projects and building projects, we weren't interested in formalizing one particular way of building. We rather wanted to be mindful about how much diversity there is and not being super ideological. So we've built strong primitives that allow you to kind of manipulate it for your own use that's well suited to your particular workflow. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to my homeboy, partner in crime, Pat Nakajima.
Hello. So I'm going to give you a demo of GitHub projects. Let me see if I can just Command T here, or how do I get to another window? I'm gonna find it. Here we go. So here, once the screen comes back, this is what a project looks like. It's very foggy sometimes during the summer. How do I do that? It's really important to see people collaborate on really everything here. So here you see a project. This is the same project that we showed in our slide over there. But this is probably the most important project at GitHub right now. You're really lucky to be able to see this. I'm new to this project, so I want to see, what people are doing on it, and I can see that from the columns. Connor, I can't see the window in here now. Oh, I can see over here. I see. Cool. So we've got our backlog ready, in progress, done, ready for review. Whatever columns your team thinks are great, that's what you should use. If I want to add cards to a column, I can go in here, click Add Cards, and let's figure out time travel. That sounds good for our open source flux capacitor project. Just drag that in to backlog. And there it goes. I'm pretty sure almost all of you are familiar with this dynamic. Since I'm new to the project, I got a bunch of ideas that I want to try to add. So I'm going to say here, to the moon, because that seems like a good thing to do too. And the idea behind notes is you can just kind of fill in as many of these ideas as you have right off the bat and not spam everybody who's watching the repository with notifications. Before we built notes, we were still kind of using some of this project stuff, and I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to get in there, and somebody emailed me, and they were like, we just got 50 emails of all the issues you just opened with no body, no assignees, no anything like that. So we added notes so that you could get things from your head to the screen as soon as possible. So yeah, once you want to take that note and you think that's a good idea and you're ready for more discussion about it, or it merits an assignee or something like that, you can go here and click Convert to Issue and say, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I want to be able to assign people to this. And then it just becomes an issue here, and you can see, still draggable. Yeah. Additionally, since a lot of times when you're looking at these columns, you want to just get that whole thing. You don't care about anything else on the page, so we also have this little full screen mode over here. And with that, you can actually enter a full screen mode that gets rid of the header, gets rid of the other nav, and you just have this here just You can be in the zone. That's my demo. So let me figure out how to get the screen back. Which one was I on? Sorry, bear with me. Okay, that was my demo. Just to recap, draggable columns and cards. You can reorder columns as well. You can use the same search as you use for issues in that search sidebar. So if you want to just see things that are labeled with, bug or something like that, that same filtering works there as it does everywhere else for repo search or global search. And again, we have notes in here too for when you want to just get things on the page. Coming soon to projects, these are working really well right now on a per repository basis, but we think that the next thing that everyone's going to want, including us, are to be able to take all of the issues, all of the pull requests in your organization and manage those. Because a lot of projects, you actually you care about more than one repository, especially the way we work at GitHub, and I think a lot of other people do too. So we're going to have support for organization level projects. We're also talking about having support for per user projects. So just for me, Pat Nakajima, I care about all these things for work, but then some of my open source things too. If I want a board for that, that can just be my thing. The same way when the users have repositories, I could have that too. And that could work really well with things like Waffle's new, the Waffle bot, where it can organize things for you and show you what you care about based off of your actions elsewhere. Another thing that we're rolling out soon is better support for large projects. We got as much as we could out the door as possible, but we didn't, we figured no one's going to have an enormous project on GitHub in the first month because, how fast can anyone possibly work? But we want to make it a lot smoother going forward for if your project is 6 months old, you've got thousands of cards, and how do you see what you've done without that getting in your way? Another thing we're working on is clear dependency relationships. In the same way that you can say fixes, number 1, 2, 3 in a pull request, and that'll close that issue number 1, 2, 3. We want to kind of show that, in projects, just give you a better idea of how everything that you're working on is related, what's being taken care of, what's not. And then integrations are going to be huge for projects because we are looking at this, like Ayman said, in terms of the primitives of project management. We're never going to build 100% of what everyone wants because that's zero of what anybody wants, really. So we want all the more opinionated things to come through projects, give all our integrators the ability to come in, say this is how the team works, and this is what they want for the rules, and then have that just work automatically. So to recap, repository project boards is what we've launched. We have launched with issue and pull request cards, quick search, notes for just getting it on the page. Cross-repository projects are coming soon. Better dependency tracking. Nested projects is the idea that we can have a card that's actually a project so that you can drill down from project to project to project until you get to what you actually care about. And then the management of large projects. That's my time. I'm going to give it to Connor now to talk more about code review.
Awesome. Thank you both. So we're really excited about projects. Again, we use this project and code review. Sorry, words are difficult sometimes when you're dealing with this. As soon as we got the base layer of features for both code review and projects, we immediately worked them into our own workflow. So when Pat and Ayman were talking about their own board and using it to actually manage the projects, we actually did do that, and we worked out a bunch of bugs. I think the one about notes is pretty interesting, is how many notifications get sent every time you open a issue. And as we sort of reduced that workload, ran into that pretty quickly. So let's talk about code review. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we shipped today, what you can expect from code review. Hopefully all of you have had a chance to play with it already. But I'm also going to give you a little insight into sort of where we're going with it, how we're thinking about the problems. Again, like I said at the beginning, we really approach this from what will empower developers. We're not necessarily trying to look at every organization and saying, okay, they have this particular unflexible or inflexible, rather, prescriptive workflow. We're not necessarily looking at that and trying to build it into the product. Instead, we're looking at what are the natural workflows that have bubbled up out of our usage, our community's usage. And code review is just something that has sort of always been there. I think all of you have probably used other tools that provide some of this functionality, and we definitely want to build that directly into the pull request because we believe that code review is beneficial, and peer review really as a concept is beneficial to everybody. We believe that code review, and we know that code review because we see it every day, leads to better code, fewer bugs, just overall better quality code being written. And so we definitely care about that at GitHub because we want to deliver you awesome features, but we also wanted to make sure that the vast majority of our 16 million developers, some of which obviously are here, are able to benefit from that workflow improvements as well. So that's really what this is about and sort of the aim. One of the things that we noticed with pull requests, I said this earlier, but I'll say it again because why not, is that we saw a lot of implicit workflows coming up out of that. One of those workflows was just line comments. That was a novel idea, how we actually incorporated that into the pull request and made code more collaborative. That's what we're all about, social coding. And a lot of conversations happen around code, whether it be on the conversation timeline, where they can sort of coordinate around the code, or directly on the code with line comments. And some of the workflows that we see and we use every day is that going over to the diff, clicking on the line comment, talking about that. Sometimes you have something that's like, oh, this line of code is wrong. You need to fix this. Sometimes I'm just jumping in as someone who's ignorant of a certain language, and I'm just saying, oh, this is interesting. I just want to sort of let somebody know that I think what they're doing is cool. And other times you want to be very prescriptive and say, like, yes, you are actually now good to ship this. This is now high enough quality that I think it's great. And so we're seeing all this happen, but we're realizing that our UI was just very loose, I guess is the way. The way it worked, the way the pull requests worked were very loose. Sometimes you're just replying to a conversation. Someone's left a thought and you want to continue that conversation. That's fine, but that's not necessarily always, quote, code review. Sometimes you see a whole conversation, maybe it's 20 comments and half of them are just emojis, and you're kind of like, I'm glad you all are having this conversation, but there's actually some real discussion to have here around how you're implementing this. Great. Well, it's kind of hard to have all that in just one thread. So we approach that problem with code review. And so we looked at all the ways that people are using pull requests and using the conversations around code review to sort of think about how we actually make some of these flows built into the process. And one of the things that we really cared about was not replacing all that was good. We think we did a pretty good job with the pull request. I hope some of you think so too. And so we didn't want to just throw that out. Instead, we took on a design approach where we looked at the things that were working, things that people relied on every day to get their work done. And we built on top of that, which is actually an interesting design challenge, is how do you preserve old workflows and allow people to just day one jump in and do what they've always done, and then see the benefit of maybe a different workflow that's built on top, and it should be approachable no matter what you're doing. So that's, again, sort of some of the context about how we approach this. It's really interesting, just as an anecdote, how we actually turn this on in some of the earlier versions. And a lot of people at GitHub weren't so used to having to go through this. And so there was some frustration, like, oh, geez, here's another thing. And maybe it's a little buggy because it's a beta or alpha or whatever. And one of the main signals that we saw is like, okay, cool, we turned it off for a day. And all of a sudden we got a bunch of, whoa, where'd that go? I need that. Really, really helpful. So anyways, that was a strong signal that this is something we want to build as a first-class citizen of our feature set into pull requests. So now I'm going to do the shuffle of trying to do a demo. I apologize. With that, it's demo time. All right. Seamless. Nailed it. So you're working on a project, and these are sort of how these products and these features work together. Oftentimes, you'll be on this page, you'll be trying to figure out what to do, and you'll notice that maybe this isn't really a backlog. This is something that we need to address right now. This is in ready for review. And so I can sort of see this and say, okay, great. Well, I need to do something about this. So I'm going to click in and see this pull request and understand sort of what needs to be reviewed. It looks like they're getting down to the nitty-gritty of figuring out time travel. That's really cool. I'm really excited about this. We've incorporated better GIF support. I'm just kidding. We still have the same old GIF support. It's really hard to improve on the GIF. But anyways, so this is just an example of some documentation that we're going to go through. And this kind of goes to the point that it's not always code that we're reviewing. This can be just simple documentation around sort of design process, or in this case, sort of how we approach time travel. So Caitlin has opened up this pull request. She's ready to go. I can already see Ayman's already made some comments in here. That's really great. Oh, actually, she's left a thing. All right, cool. I want to use our simple reply feature. This is one of those examples of taking something that was implicit and saying, okay, let's just build replies directly into the UI. Because we know that's a use case that somebody doesn't want to go through the heaviness of leaving a review and trying to go through some process. I just want to have a conversation. So I'm going to say, nah, it's fine. Which this is not good conversation because you want to be considerate of your coworkers, and this isn't normally how we work. But for this case, just going to leave this right here, and you can see it just pop in line. I don't have to go through a whole process. But now that we're actually dealing with code review, let's go over to the diff and take a look at this. So you can, this is familiar. You're used to this. But you can leave a line, and I'm going to put my mic down for a moment, so excuse the bang. We're working on a markdown file, so I'm not really sure why we have to use HTML, but you know what, to be honest with you, the syntax around it's pretty complicated, so what have you. So we're looking at this, and you can see the UI allows us to still add a single comment if we want. We don't have to do this heavy thing again. We can just add a line comment and be on our way. But now we have this new option, and it's the start review. So right now you can see that that's been added to the diff. You can see that a pending label is there. That means that it's ready to go, but it hasn't been sent out yet, so you haven't sent a notification. I don't know if about you, but I've done this where I kind of have all my line comments composed, and I don't click send until the very end because I know that I've got some context that I want to talk about at the end. Is this convoluted process? Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore. We just added it right here. So I can continue on my way, and does this fit into our product? Yes, it does. We want, oh wait, not question mark. What am I doing? Yes, it does. We do want to time travel in GitHub. This is a feature that'll be coming in about a year. We're going to bring the flux capacitor to the masses. It's going to be great. Okay, cool. So I can add a couple of comments here. And great. So maybe I'm good to go. I think I am. So I'm going to go up here to this review button. And all of a sudden I get this like nice simple drop down. I can leave a comment. I'm like, so now I can leave a simple meta comment that's going to go along with the review. I can sort of describe the whole list of changes in a holistic way. That's an optional thing, by the way. You can come here and just say, yep, everything looks good, click approve, submit, that's fine. But this time I'm going to actually request some changes. I think I'm going to hold fast on my table comment here. I'm going to submit the review. And so boom, it takes you back to the conversation timeline. You can see this. This is tied directly into our protected branches feature. We think this is really important because we think protecting branches is important. We want to have some control over what gets into your master branch or whatever your default branch is. And so this is tied directly into this. So in this particular case, on this repo as an administrator, I've enforced this. I've said, okay, I want to protect this branch, simple checkbox, and I've said, you need at least one reviewer before this gets merged in. And you can see that enforced here. So now I've left a review. This isn't my pull request, but we work collaboratively. Wow, I'll get there. And now I'm just sort of waiting for some changes. So I've asked my friend, Pat Nakajima, to push a commit that changes some things. And it'll come in, boom, seamless demo, everybody. This has never been more smooth. So I've seen he's updated the README, so I can look at those changes. Let's go ahead and look at there. All right, great. So he ignored my feedback altogether, but I'm kind of giving up at this point. I think it's fine. I think the table works well. It's pretty complex. Looks like he's added some sort of And, okay, cool. So there's our other demo of our new feature. This is it working. It looks like we've made tons of progress here. Fantastic. So I'm just going to go back. This is all looking really great. So I have a couple options here. I can leave another review if I want to. I can go here and ignore the review summary, and I can just click approve and be about my merry way. But I don't have to do that. We've built in some shortcuts. So if you go back to the conversation, and if I'm looking around here and I'm sort of seeing the code, I'm like, maybe his commit message is a little bit better next time. It's a little bit more descriptive. I'm like, oh, he's got it. I trust it. I don't really need to look at the code. I'm just going to make this quick shortcut right here. I can see I've left a review that requests changes. Well, I'm satisfied now. So I'm going to go ahead and approve these changes now. And so you go down here and you can see the merge box is updated. I've given the go-ahead. We're good to go. I think we've made a great plan, and we're going to go ahead and merge these changes. Yeah, that looks great. Boom. I'm a big believer in deleting branches, by the way. I don't know about you. All right. So there's a whole sort of process right there. We made the code better. Theoretically, we kind of made a convoluted example for you, but you can see how this can just work directly into your workflow, and hopefully that'll be incorporated into your company or your open source project or your personal projects that you're working with somebody else really soon. So that's our demo. And getting out of the demo is hard. JK. So just to recap, we're batching comments together. We felt the pain. We heard the pain from all of our customers. We're going to be able to send these as just one single review. That's one email that you can keep track of the thread really easily. We've simplified all of that for you. You can leave 50 comments or you can leave one comment. It's up to you, but we've built that right in. Simple status attached to your review also works as you would expect. You can approve changes and sort of give the thumbs up that this is ready to be merged. You can just leave thoughts. If you just want to leave a bunch of comments and you still don't want to bother them, that's fine too. You can still review the code. There's plenty of examples where I'm not the expert, of course, and I just sort of lurking around a repo, and I want to leave a lot of thoughts. Maybe they're questions. And so we give that option by default. You can leave general feedback without any sort of explicit approval or process around that, and just leave that batch comment, and we've built that right in. Or you can add approvals. This is an explicit thumbs up. And again, you can add sort of requesting changes. This needs to be changed before I give it the thumbs up. So that's all built into the simple UI. We've also just improved some of that lightweight conversation that people have around their code. So in this case, we built better emoji reactions. I'm just kidding. They're so good already. They're the same emoji reactions. They're built right in, right? Super lightweight, so you don't have to muddy up the conversation when all you want to do is give a heart. It makes hearts sound like they're not very impactful, but they are, we know. And then we've built just the UI a little bit better, so it just allows you to go in and just add a reply really lightweight, hit enter, you're done. This is also built directly into our protected branches. You can protect all of this. You don't have to, you can put some explicitness around these processes so you know that the code that you're building or that you're merging in has actually been reviewed, and you can have some peace of mind that more than one developer going rogue to fix a bug at 3 a.m. that actually causes 6 other bugs happen. That was one of the use cases that we brought up, is like, well, what happens when we have a critical bug and we're now blocked because we have this feature? Well, we've learned over and over again that we've caused more bugs out of that hastefulness than we would like. So code review sort of solves that for us, and we sort of force that extra minute of review sometimes makes all the difference. If you've seen any spelling errors in these slides, I haven't looked at spelling. It would have benefited from some code review if I was able to do that. So anyways, that's sort of how that works. We can protect it. So, like I said, I want to tell you where we're going. This is what we shipped today. I want to give you some insight into how we're thinking about the product, how we want to add some additional features. So, want to talk about what's coming soon. And this is more work in progress. You'll notice that our UI is that I'm going to show is a little bit early in the works. As you can see, this is not how it'll look. These are sketches, right? So we want to be able to build in the process of when I open a pull request, I want to explicitly add I want to add Ayman's eyes, and I want to make sure she's seeing this. And right now you have to go to Slack, you have to go, go in person if you're working in the same office. You have to send a text message, some way to sort of send the link and say, can you review this code? Well, now we can just build that right into the UI, and we're really excited about working on this and getting this out soon. Is the idea of just adding people as part of the process of opening a pull request and saying, hey, I would love your eyes on this, because we know that it makes things better. And so how that could actually look in the UI, again, like we're still exploring this, but we can work pretty quickly, and we're excited to work on this next, is the idea of like the merge box, so we're reflecting that. So you know this idea when it comes to your build statuses, there's tests that are building, for instance. Well, this is the same sort of idea. I'm waiting for Todd Berman, our VP, to get his eyes on this. He's really slow to act sometimes, so I'm still waiting on him. But the idea is I can see the status of all the reviews that are going into my pull request or not going into my pull request. And Todd, if he's looking at the merge box, he can sort of jump in and really quickly see, oh, I'm holding everything up. Well, I think we're going to look into ways of sort of building more shortcuts into the UI. So there's not just one maybe heavy way to do it, but there's also lighter weight ways. One thing I really am interested in, and I'm about to put us on the hook for it, I want keyboard shortcuts for this sort of stuff. But anyways, we'll look at that more too. A little preview for that. This concept of something we're exploring is code ownership. So any way we can automate processes, whether it be in the future when we have robots writing our code for us, we'll write documentation for that, and that'll be the next demo, I'm sure. But we want to automate anything for people and just make it easier for you to write better code with peer review or code review. And so we're exploring this idea of code ownership. We know that whether it be out of necessity because you were the original writer, sometimes this doesn't work for us because we look at some feature that we're building and we see defunct's name next to the blame and we're like, oh, this was years ago. He has no idea how this was built. All right. But there's a ton of other examples where somebody's the maintainer of a code base, whether it be a file, whether it's our design systems team that sort of owns the CSS across our entire system of design and across our entire code base, that's a big, tall order. And it's even harder to keep track of changes as they happen. You kind of sometimes have to set up going to a search that you have in a tab, and you're always checking it to make sure nothing comes in that didn't get across your desk. You have to sort of scour your notifications and sort of filter through all that. We just want to make that super easy and make it so you're automatically notified when a piece of code that you need to be maintaining is touched by someone else. And this is a workflow that I personally have used at past jobs, at past systems where we built in basically hacks into our code base with owners files and things like that that are sort of a list of names that then some API tool goes through whatever we're using and then automatically notifies you or adds you to the review. We want to build this as a first-class thing right into GitHub. We think this would be really powerful. It could be somebody like Josh Peak. I don't know if he's in here, but anytime you write a line of JavaScript, you want Josh's eyes on it. In fact, he used to have his own team at GitHub. I'm not sure why. I think it was more of a joke. But the point is that there are people that are maintainers of these code bases, and they should be notified really quickly. So that's sort of the idea. I don't know how this is going to work. We'd love to hear your feedback. I mean, it's pretty easy to think about it from a how it works standpoint to say, oh, someone will just be notified anytime they touch this file. But we think it's more interesting to sort of be even smarter. And over time, we want to be able to have owners of functions. I don't know. Like, it seems like more granular ownership could be really interesting as well. So we're exploring all of these. So just to recap, what we're shipping today is first-class code review on GitHub. This means you can approve or request changes. You can also just do lightweight commenting. We want to build in and solidify a simple, lightweight reply workflow so that you can continue to have important or frivolous conversations around your code. We're batching up all these line comments so that you don't have to worry about sending a million emails because you have a lot of thoughts. Or maybe you learn more about the code, like, okay, so here's another use case. You're going through the diff and you think you understand it and you're like, oh, this is wrong, wrong, wrong. And then you scroll through it and you realize, oh, I'm wrong. and now I've already sent a bunch of notifications to everybody letting them know I'm wrong. And there's no way to fix that. Well, now you can. You can go through, and as you get more context, because you sort of rushed into things, you can go through there and send one notification and edit it and make sure it's exactly what you want to say as part of a holistic review of the code. And then finally, we've built into protected branches directly. Right now, the way it's going to work is that you're going to, by default, when you turn this on, we're going to require that a single other developer or other person reviews your code and gives it a thumbs up explicitly. But that's not where we want to end up long term. So coming soon, what are we exploring? We're exploring requested reviewers. We're exploring resolvable comments. I didn't even talk about this stuff. But these workflows are really interesting. You have 50 comments, and they're all sort of to-dos because they're all really good points of feedback. Well, you want to use that as a task list, and you want to go through and just send lightweight progress to that person and say, well, I'm resolving one comment at a time. We want to build those sorts of workflows directly into it. We want to talk about code ownership. We want to figure out exactly what that means exactly for GitHub and for you. We want to build that directly in and tie it directly into our code review feature. We want to do things like multi-line commenting. It's stupid that you can only comment on a single line. It's a whole block I'm talking about. Or what if, whatever. You get the picture. We want to build in lightweight ways of, you can imagine clicking one line, dragging down and highlighting a bunch and leaving a comment on a whole blob. That's great. And then we want to improve the protected branches feature. When we look at this as an administrator, you want to have a little bit more fine control. For instance, maybe you'd want more than just one person. There's a ton of organizations that want to be more explicit around this and say, okay, we need 3 people. Or better yet, I need Ayman because she's the expert on this code. So until she gives the thumbs up explicitly, we're going to block the merge. Maybe that's a workflow. So we're looking at all of this. We think projects and code review working together are extremely powerful. And that's why we've built them directly into our product, because we think they're not just something that you use at work, although that is equally important. We also think it's great for any project that you're working with another person, whether it be your wife, like myself, working on their home, or building projects into GitHub, building code review. We think these are extremely great. So that's our workflow improvements. If there's one thing I want everyone here to take away is that we are listening. When we hear feedback, whether it be in a letter that we get 8 months ago that we definitely learned from and we reacted to appropriately, or feedback that we hear here at the conference, we want to listen to you. We're not going to build everything you ask for, of course. Nobody operates that way. But we do want to understand what use cases you find in your process, and we want to understand them, and we want to figure out what are the best things for everybody that we can build directly into this. And then, as Pat and Ayman mentioned, we think of this as a platform. Again, we're doing the undifferentiated heavy lifting of these features so that everyone else, when we take the approach of developer first, well, we have this great ecosystem of developers that can build in all those specialized workflows on top of that and plug directly into it. And we're really excited about that because we're better together. So anyways, that's it. That's it, workflow improvements. We're going to be around all 2 days, I think. And there's office hours. I believe they're tomorrow. I'm not actually sure about that, but please figure when we're going to be at those tables and come talk to us. We want to hear from you. Thank you so much.